Good morning, 9:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's going on? It's Chris Hand. Thank you for being here. Mac Morey is my producer, Ken Weaver in the newsroom, and you, the fourth man of the team, available to chime in all day long on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986, or, always feel free to call if you feel so inclined. So Friday afternoon, things got crazy in New York City. I know, a Friday in New York getting crazy. That can't be news. Well, it was. All right, so there was a riot in Union Square in New York City. Mac, you know this story.
Crazy.
So
what?
Do you know who Kai Cenat is?
I didn't until Friday. I did some research just because I was doing news. Some sort of video game streamer.
So he's a streamer on Twitch, which we're also on Twitch. We don't do the numbers Kai does. He has 20 million subscribers on the platform, which is ridiculous.
Wow.
So he got famous. This guy got famous. He'd been creating YouTube videos in 2018, but he got famous in 2021 when he launched his Twitch profile, and he live streamed for 5 months straight, and he would even live stream himself sleeping.
Wow.
Yeah, he makes $250,000 a year off of the sleeping videos.
What?
Could you imagine making that much money sleeping?
Talk about passive income.
I love it.
We were joking the other day about Foot Finder and like how people make money off of that. This guy completely trumps Foot Finder. All right, so what happened Friday? Popular Twitch streamer Kai Cenat, who has 20 million subscribers on the platform, this is according to the New York Post, hopped on a live stream Friday afternoon and encouraged his followers to gather at Union Square Park in New York City, where he promised to give away PS5s and other free gaming electronics. And then what happened was just pure chaos. It just descended into chaos so fast. It was described as a full-on riot. Allegedly, up to, this was estimated, 2,000 teens and young adults descended upon the park, wreaking widespread, well-documented havoc that prompted a massive police mobilization and led to over a dozen arrests. The videos were insane. I mean, there were guys jumping on tops of cars, massive amounts of youth just running through the street. I saw a pack and play, a baby's pack and play being hit on a car. I don't know where the pack and play came from. I don't know who decided that that would be their weapon of choice, but that's how crazy it got in Union Square Park. So, many among the out-of-control crowd tossed bottles, jumped on vehicles, taunted cops. 65 people, including the live streamer Kai Cenat, were arrested, and 30 minors were arrested, according to police. Now, once he arrived at the iconic green space, Cenat live streamed for roughly an hour, and the crowd was screaming and losing their minds until they eventually cut his Twitch stream, which I can only assume was authorities calling Twitch saying, we have to get this under control, cut the feed. Then when the dust settled, Cenat was arrested, and he's going to be charged with 2 counts of inciting a riot and unlawful assembly in connection to the pandemonium. So this is insane. This is an insane story. I have a couple of thoughts. First, I think this is much less about the live streamer Kai Cenat and more of an indictment on the culture that we're seeing in our country. I think the culture in our country is rotten to the core. PS5s are readily available. You can get a PS5 used for like $375 from GameStop. Like there's absolutely no reason to riot over a PS5. Property damage, fights. I can imagine there was some drug use, alcohol. This is what happened over a PS5 giveaway. So I have a hard time putting it on the PS5, and I have much more confidence in putting it on. It's a culture issue in the country. Again, I saw a pack and play broken over a car.
And my question, too, is, Brother Chris, were there ever any PS5s available for giveaway? Because nobody has said that.
I mean, at a certain point, the guy driving the car, if they did have the PS5s, was probably terrified.
Absolutely.
Like, if they had PS5s, it would have been akin to, like, Hungry Lions, and you're the only guy holding a steak.
Yeah, good idea, Kai.
Yeah, so... But again, I don't want to blame the live streamer too much because the kid is only 21.
That's true.
He's dumb, right? We can all agree with that. But he's so young, and clearly he's new to this excessive amount of fame. Like this is something that he has no experience with. I'm not going to try and tell you that I have any experience with that. So what could have been a fun idea and a fun gesture in a meeting room with his people clearly wasn't vetted, clearly wasn't thought out. I don't think they went into this thinking we can cause a riot over giving out PS5s. I don't think that was the goal. To put it all on him, you surely can. That's where it started. He's misguided. He's dumb, but he's young. Again, 21, new to fame. So I'll choose to give him the benefit of the doubt and not envisioning what this would devolve to. It seems like an extraordinary situation. But I tell my kids all the time, if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And I clean it up for them. I say if you play silly games, you win silly prizes.
Ah, nice.
But
Dad move.
It's the truth. If you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So I don't feel bad that he got arrested. That's what happens when you play stupid games. He probably doesn't have the right people around him. This Kai Cenat, the Twitch streamer. And again, I don't know him. It's hard to say. But I know we all did dumb things at 21. And if we had that excessive amount of fame, it probably could have made any of our mistakes in life far, far worse. But again, the indictment is that the culture is dying. And it seems like these events are laughed at and celebrated on social media. And it's all the algorithm promotes. It's all the algorithm pushes. And it's such lawlessness on the daily that you see out of these big blue cities. And it's these Democrat policies. Nobody feels like they're going to be getting in any trouble for any type of crime. And it's a culture issue. It's absolutely a culture issue. And I don't want to put the blame for our current rotten culture on the live streamer Kai Cenat. I just don't. Is he an idiot? Yep. Did he play a stupid game? Yep. Did he win a stupid prize? Sure did. He's going to be charged with it. And he's probably going to face just crazy penalties for this. But the flip side is we're seeing such lawlessness on the daily that when you see a video like the chic 7-Eleven owner in California beating a shoplifter with a broom handle, because of the lawlessness we're seeing, it's hard to not watch that and be like, there you go, you get what you deserve, right? Like that's the opposite side of the spectrum. And you see the lawlessness. So when you see somebody standing up to a shoplifter who they said had been shoplifting his store, I don't know if you've seen the video with the chic business owner.
I hadn't.
Okay, so this guy walks into the 7-Eleven and he just starts arm racking cigarettes into a trash can to steal them.
Wow.
Like hundreds and hundreds of packs of cigarettes.
Just blatantly being open about it.
Into
Wow.
a trash can. And then the chic business owner of the 7-Eleven gets a broom handle and just goes to town. Hits him like a couple dozen times with a broom handle.
Yeah.
They hold him down. I read some reports that said they let him go after that. It was just a little street justice and they let him go. But so you see the lawlessness in New York, and then you see a video where they're standing up against it, and it's hard not to root for the business owner. Like, you put up with so much, the government doesn't have your back, and somebody needs to do something. So you see a little street justice, and you go, good, finally. Maybe, other people will learn that if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and you would hope that, right? Of course, now that store owner that we saw in the viral video beating the man with the broomstick, the shoplifter, is going to be facing charges for what he did.
Following developing news in Stockton, we have now learned the store clerks seen on a video beating a man who was trying to steal from their store are now under investigation for assault.
Oh, so he's the one getting charged now for assault. Never mind the fact that the man came into the store 3 times, and this was the 3rd time, and they finally took action when the police wouldn't. Now the store owner's getting charged. America used to be a proper country where street justice was a little bit more welcomed. And then we used to be able to really trust the police to do their job. We used to trust our officials to uphold the law. And now it just seems we can't. And it seems like you're penalized for doing the right thing. I have no problem with the store owner taking action into his own hands when the police and local officials decriminalize shoplifting in California to the point where people are just walking into stores and taking things. I mean, in California, you have Walgreens shutting down. You have supermarkets leaving the area because the shoplifting has gotten so bad. So you have a guy here that's a business owner, and he's just fed up with it. This guy has been into his store 3 times. He takes action into his own hands, and he hits a shoplifter with a broom handle. Trying to solve the problem that the police should have solved for him a long time ago. I don't think you ever would have taken those actions if the police had stepped up, if local government had stepped up. But that shoplifter had to learn when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And now he is getting charged, or at least being investigated to get charged, which it wouldn't shock me. It's California. Why wouldn't he get charged? You know, I read one article that said they let the guy go after the beating. So just a little street justice, right? Well, no street justice in California. You know, rules for thee, but not for me. And there's more to the story.
So here's how it all started. The video shows this man going into a 7-Eleven in Stockton and emptying shelves of cigarettes into that large trash can. The video then shows the two clerks try to stop him before hitting him with a stick more than 24 times. The store clerks now say this man stole from their store 2 other times and threatened them. Stockton police say they are investigating the man who was beaten for robbery and the clerks for assault. When the investigation is complete, it will be sent to the San Joaquin County District Attorney for review. Then it's going to be up to the DA to determine what charges, if any, are filed against the store clerks.
So how much do you want to bet that they actually file charges against these store owners, but not against the shoplifter? I mean, shoplifting has all but been decriminalized in the great state of California. But you know, taking actions into your own hand, still a crime. I don't advocate for violence, but when the guy's gone into the store 3 times and the police have done nothing, when the laws on shoplifting have been lowered to the floor, so no criminal feels like they're ever going to get charged or punished for shoplifting, can you blame a business owner for taking it into his own hands? Again, it's the culture that is rotten. It's not the business owner. It's not even so much the shoplifter. It's the culture that we're dealing with that is rotten in this country. And these are events that we're seeing happen more and more and more. We saw it with Daniel Penny in New York on the subway. And it seems like they're trying to make a climate or a culture where standing up and doing the right thing or standing up for your property or defending your property is now a crime. They're trying to demonize everything that's right and promote everything that's wrong. It's the craziest thing to me. And I think it's a culture issue. And again, back to Kai Cenat, the Twitch streamer who causes a riot in Union Square over PS5 giveaways. If he had a good idea to give away a PS5, and he didn't think that this would devolve into that, I can't blame a 21-year-old kid for having a bad idea, but the culture is rotten. The culture is what caused 2,000 teens to show up and full-on riot and attack cars and get into fistfights and toss bottles at police officers. That's the culture. That's not the live streamer. That's the culture. It's the culture that we're seeing that causes people to just shoplift brazenly and punch an old lady in the head in Georgia at Lowe's. And then she gets fired from her job. Subsequently, she's rehired, but that's a culture issue. It's a culture issue when you think it's okay to just assault an old lady. It's a culture issue when you think it's okay to riot in the streets and start fights. It's a culture issue when you think that it's okay to just shoplift for all of your basic needs and non-basic needs like cigarettes. The culture is rotten. And they wonder why people like you and I are out there saying we need to get more faith back into schools. We need to get more Jesus in people's life and create a climate where people have purpose and people have dignity and self-respect, because the culture is rotten. And these kids out here don't have purpose. They don't have self-respect, and they don't have any fear of consequences. It's a shame, but that's what we're looking at. And that's on the micro. On the macro, we still have, our elected officials are being charged for crimes over free speech. And the media only highlights one side of the argument. It's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. But is it anything that we're shocked over? Of course not. 615-737-9986 is the number to text in. 6241 said, not culture, spiritual warfare. I agree. I think it is spiritual warfare. And I think that the more we get God back into people's lives and back into the public square, the more the culture will improve. 8403 said, it's not like the guy in California was taking just a few packs of cigarettes. He was filling up a trash can. Yeah, exactly. So how can we feel bad? And it was the third time. So how can we feel bad when the store owner at 7-Eleven says, I've had enough? I've had enough. The man's probably losing money hand over fist dealing with the shoplifting, and he finally caught someone red-handed for the third time, and he takes a little action. I don't blame him one bit. But I definitely think that we'll be seeing criminal charges for him for assault because that's the state that California's in. And unfortunately, that's the state our culture is in. My name is Chris Hand. This is the Chris Hand Show. Be a part of it. 615-737-9986 for the Super Text line. It is 920 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for the Dr. Gill Center. Now, listen, if you're like me, you've known somebody who's dealt with opioid addiction or lost their life to opioid addiction. It's crazy, again, what the culture is doing to people out here. It's crazy. It's so scary. And that's why I'm a big supporter of the Dr. Gill Center. No pills necessary. No matter what you're dealing with, if you have little kids, you can attest to this. Sometimes they just come flying off the couch at you like they do to me. And that leads to back pain, neck pain, knee pain, hip pain, elbow pain. Well, all of that can be treated at the Dr. Gill Center with no needles and no downtime. At the Dr. Gill Center, we've been helping people get back to a pain-free life for over 30 years. Right now, the Dr. Gill Center wants to offer a special offer to those of you out there that are suffering with pain and looking for a non-surgical solution. So right now, $49 gets you all of your new patient initial examination, x-rays, and a complete review of findings. Less than $50 to find out what's causing your pain. Give the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin a call now and beginning your journey to becoming pain-free. 615-882-4838. That's 615-882-4838 and tell them that Chris Hand told you to call. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill.
Check your airline before heading to the airport. Storms wreaking havoc on parts of the country, and thousands of flights have been canceled or delayed. Tyson Foods has just announced a cost-cutting measure. We'll tell you what that might mean for jobs coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. My name is Chris Hand. We were talking about the business owner, the Sheik in California, who may be facing charges for defending his store from a shoplifter. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In case you missed it.
Following developing news in Stockton, we have now learned the store clerks seen on a video beating a man who was trying to steal from their store are now under investigation for assault.
Now they're being charged or investigated to be charged with assault. Shocking. The culture is rotten. Had some good texters coming in. 0973 and John and Jay, so 1110 and 0973, both are saying you can hear the robber on the video saying, "Don't make me pull my gat," and he goes to reach into his back pocket. That's before the Chic owner goes after him with the broom handle and hits him more than 24 times. I don't feel bad for the robber. It was his third time in the store. He threatened the clerks. This is a culture issue. And now they're going to probably charge these guys. But with the shoplifting threshold so low in California, do we expect the robber to, the shoplifter to face any charges?
No, just go find a new gas station to go rob.
Hey, simple as. Simple as. 8980 texted in and said, culture is downstream from politics. It used to be politics is downstream from culture, but now the media is downstream from politics and culture because they're all propaganda. Except you, of course. Oh, thank you, 8980. I don't want to be propaganda at all. I just want to kind of shine a light on the story that the media aren't talking about, which is this one, the Chic store owner who is going to be facing charges for defending his property and defending his convenience store. And allegedly the man had said, "Don't make me grab my gat," and reached in his back pocket. But that's a crime in Joe Biden's America. Time for the news.
$9:30 on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got storms wreaking havoc on the eastern part of the nation. At least 2,500 flights have been canceled or delayed. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Tyson Foods closing 4 chicken processing plants to try to lower costs. Fortunately, none of them in Tennessee. But Tyson will be closing 1 plant in Arkansas, 1 in Indiana, 2 in Missouri. Right now in Nashville, Yellow Trucking Companies officially filed for bankruptcy. Just last week, they paused operations, putting more than 30,000 people out of work. Elsewhere in Music City, people in Midtown on edge after Metro Police say a man was shot after his dog lunged at 2 men nearby.
Me and my friend are both like, that could have been us.
Milo's a puppy. He's almost four months old, so, we can't always control every little motion, and, he does get excited at times when people are approaching him.
Channel 4 says the victim taken to a local hospital for a non-life-threatening injury. The search is on for the 2 men who shot him, and that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Man, more storms? Well, you better be keeping an eye on that basement, crawl space, and all that good stuff because you may need to call USS. Hey, it's Chris Hand for United Structural Systems. I'm new to WTN, but I'm not new to USS like you. I've heard their commercials for years on Super Talk. And I recently had a chance to meet these guys, and they're just the people that they say they are. Good, hardworking, and honest folks. Now, listen, if after all this rain, you're noticing standing water in your crawl space, wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors, your house is trying to tell you something. So have USS check it out before it gets worse. Give them a call today at 615-488-7855. USS has 25,000 satisfied customers, and I'm confident that you can be 25,001. Call USS today at 615-488-7855. USS, for all of your foundation repair, waterproofing, and concrete leveling needs, contact USS or hit up the website, USSTN.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. What's one of the biggest mistakes that I find that investors make? Well, it's typically buying based on past performance. We look at our 401k, we try to decide which fund should I buy, and tend to look at historical past performance over 3, 5, and you even hear investment advisors telling people to look at 3, 5, and 10-year track records. Problem is that what do markets do? They go up and they go down. Well, where did this have a great past performance? Here to here. So we end up buying high. We found that there was one study back in 1986, and it was called the Brinson-Huden-Biebauer study. And they were looking at what drove investment returns more than anything else. And the study sort of looked like this. They said, stock selection, about 4% of investment differences were due to stock selection. About 2% was due to market timing differences. Asset mix, asset allocation, that was the big deal. Now, what they found, which was fascinating, was that when the pension plans engaged in these two activities, in one study it showed that 100% of the time, investment returns were lower and it increased risk. Not something you want when you're an investor. So this is something that we teach investors to help them sidestep some of these issues. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Puts it over the bar. You love to see it, don't you? That was Megan Rapinoe over the weekend. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. She could have had a game-winning kick, but instead she missed.
It's Rapinoe. I know you don't care, but
No, I don't care at all. Like the most amount of time I'm going to spend on her is just gloating in her disappointment. And why am I gloating in Rapinoe's disappointment? Well, she lost over the weekend to Sweden. There was 16 teams left, so like the Elite Eight or whatever in soccer terms.
Yeah. We were at the Sweet 16 pretty much. That was to get into the Elite Eight. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean nobody follows it. Nobody cares. But I will bring you the highlight, which is Megan Rapinoe, her disappointment. Rapinoe. And why is it that I'm so happy that she failed? Well, it's because she takes a knee during the anthem. She's very anti-America. She's pro men and women's sports, and these are all things that I am just steadfastly against. So, in case you forgot, this was her after her World Cup win in 2021.
What do you have to say?
Oh yeah.
What do you deserve?
I deserve this.
All of it. Everything. You deserve this.
Yeah, she deserves it. So while we're doing this, I deserve it stuff. I just want to say she also deserves this, which is us roasting her. You can't go on TV and yell, "I deserve this."
What do you have to say?
I deserve this, and then not expect people to just kick you while you're down. And she is down. Oh, poor. She could have won the game, and she missed the kick. She absolutely whiffed.
Shanked
whiffed.
it. Had multiple opportunities too, even before that. Yeah, really terrible, abysmal performance.
Whiffed. But she wanted to after the game. After the game, she was asked, what are your big takeaways from your time with the team? Because she's retiring, right? So she retires in failure. Awesome. Thank you. So she's retiring. What are your big takeaways? This is what she had to say.
Is there a memory that stands out to you right now in this moment?
She's got the tears going. Oh.
I mean, probably equal pay chance.
What? Her big takeaway is equal pay. Not that she got equal pay, but that they had the chance at it.
I mean, probably equal pay chance.
Okay.
After the final. And I think, they were saying equal pay, but could have been saying a lot of things. I think this team is...
We're saying a lot of things.
Always fought for so much more, and...
freedom fighters.
That's been the most rewarding part for me, of course.
Of course.
Playing in World Cups and winning championships and doing all that, but...
it's the most rewarding part for me is just winning championships and going to the White House to hang out with Joe Biden and kneeling for the national anthem. That was so rewarding.
To know that we've used our really special talent to do something, that's really changed the world forever.
Oh, forever.
I think that
she's so humble. Even in defeat, this woman is so humble.
That's really changed the world forever.
Oh, they've really to do something that has just changed the world forever, you guys. You guys need to understand that we're dealing with greatness.
To do something, that's really changed the world forever.
Yes.
I think that means the most to me. And
good.
The players in this locker room
There's
here,
the fake tears again. Did you hear the fake tears coming in?
I think that means the most to me. And,
means the most to me.
The players in this locker room here, they're just getting started, and
she said, the players in this locker room here, they're not as good as me. They're just beginners. They're newcomers.
The players in this locker room here, they're just getting started, and to all the players that I've played with, obviously,
and all the other people I've forgotten on the way. Let's think about them too.
Who know what it's like to be in the grind. That's the best part.
Yeah, that's the best part. Your chance at equal pay. Megan Rapinoe is easily one of the biggest losers of the weekend. I have another nominee for big loser of the weekend, but I did want to play this. She talked about the chance at equal pay, and people always chime on equal pay, women's sports versus men's sports, and I every time it comes up, I always have this clip of Ronda Rousey that I'm reminded of when she said this.
I think that how much you get paid should have something to do with how much money you bring in. I'm the highest paid fighter, not because Dina and Lorenzo wanted to do something nice for the ladies. They do it because I bring in the highest numbers. They do it because I make them the most money. And I think that the money that they make should be proportionate to the money that they bring in.
Amen. Make what you're worth. I'm not against that. And I'm not against anybody making money. But the whole equal pay thing just seems like such a farce to me. Just an absolute joke. All right, so Megan Rapinoe is Rapinoe, as Mac pointed out. He's an avid soccer buff.
Gosh.
So he's a huge fan of Team USA Women's Soccer. So Megan Rapinoe is one of our weekend's biggest loser nominee. Another nominee would have to be the turtle from Kentucky who was booed out of his speech.
Folks that closed schools and then told you that teachers unions know what's best for your kids. We're up against folks who'd rather let repeat offenders walk free than get tough.
Oh, they're chanting retire.
I'm glad Governor Beshear finally decided to come to Fancy Farm. It's been the first Saturday in August for 100.
So that was Mitch McConnell over the weekend. A lot of people are saying that the video may be fake. I just think that he kept going because he can't hear. Because the man's 1,000 years old. I mean, who do you think is the biggest loser between those two? 615-737-9986 if you want to vote on that. We will be tallying your votes. Mac, Jason texted in and asked, did you dye your hair purple for the big game?
Oh, you know it. Gotta support my girl Rapinoe. Oh, that's great.
Larry texted in and said, I bet Mac secretly loves her. We all secretly love her. It's easy content.
That's true. That's true.
Jeez. Hey, Chris, this is from Rooster. He said, the soccer game reminds me of the Ace Ventura movie, Laces Out. So good. Mac probably doesn't get the Ace Ventura reference.
Don't get that.
All right. Well,
Whatever, man.
I don't have enough time to explain it to you.
Fair enough.
You're just a producer. He's got purple hair today. So, all right. Also, so text us who you think is the bigger loser, Mitch McConnell or Megan Rapinoe. Mike Pence was also running around over the weekend, believe it or not. And he doesn't just not know anymore. He figured some things out. So this was after a Trump Truth Social post, where basically the gist of the post was, if they're coming after me, I'm coming after them. So Mike Pence was asked about that, and he said, listen, I had no right to overturn that election.
Well, Dana, President Trump was wrong then, and he's wrong now. I had no right to overturn the election. Very clear that under the Constitution of the United States, Article 2, my responsibility as Vice President, as President of the Senate, was to preside over a joint session of Congress where the Constitution says the electoral votes shall be opened and shall be counted. I really do believe that people all across this country are coming to realize that more every day. Although, as I've told you before, Dana,
that's great. Listen, we can argue up and down whether or not Mike Pence had the right constitutionally to not count the votes, but I think one thing for sure, for the sake of the argument, he had the right to count the electoral votes and certify the election. He did have that right. That's what he chose to do that day. That can't be disputed. But he goes on, and he's just old dense Pence. He thinks that people really value him and love what he does for the country. He's as high on himself as Megan Rapinoe is on herself.
Over the last 2 years, I've been deeply humbled how many Americans have come up to me and expressed their appreciation. I mean, I truly do believe that we kept our oath to the Constitution that day.
Oh, yeah. Over the last 2 years, I'm sure people have been lining up to tell Mike Pence, old dense Pence, how much they appreciate him for keeping his oath to the Constitution. Also with Mike Pence, who talks like this? Who actually uses their voice in this kind of way?
But the American people deserve to know that President Trump, asked me to put him over.
Who talks like that? That's such an old politician style of talking. I don't think that any politician is going to separate themselves from the fray or the other riffraff that's always running when they speak like Mike Pence speaks. I'm going to tell you something. I will stick to my duty on the Constitution. It's so lame and old school.
Old school.
Like it's just like I can't take you serious. Like to me, when you speak in that kind of vernacular, like, dude, you're part of the problem. You're absolutely part of the problem.
Yeah, and you're not focusing on communicate to me, your people. That's not communicating to me.
Yeah. It's 8557 texted in and said, Special Counsel Jack Smith's favorite player is Megan Rapinoe. He also texted in and said, Pence speaks like Walter Cronkite. Yep, he does. 39.28 cents. Pence wants to be Abraham Lincoln. Yep. This is what happens. So, I mean, three contenders for the Biggest Loser from over the weekend. Mitch McConnell getting booed out of the stands. Megan Rapinoe just whiffing a kick. And Mike Pence just thinking that people really appreciate him, and he's been humbled.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know who is the biggest loser of the weekend. Text us who you think is the biggest loser, 615-737-9986. You could also always write in a vote if somebody else was a bigger loser than those three. I'm seeing a lot of people saying it's a tie between Mitch McConnell and Megan Rapinoe. Rapinoe is the biggest loser, says 69-65. 64-47 says the attention-hungry soccer player is the biggest loser. Yeah, I think she's definitely a huge loser. But listen, you know, she just accomplished so much.
Oh,
You know, the chance at equal pay.
I mean, probably equal pay chance after the final. And I think, you know, they were saying equal pay, but could have been saying a lot of things. I think this team is.
We are saying a lot of things about you, Megan Rapinoe.
She deserves this, though, Chris.
She deserves this. She deserves all of this.
What do you have to say?
She deserves it. She's such a goon. It's so funny.
We have John super texting after Rapinoe shanks it. You should play her saying, "I deserve this."
I know. I thought about taking the. I thought about. Yeah. Here. Let's do it.
Rapinoe right foots it over the bar.
What do you have to say?
That's perfect.
It's so good. So I mean, biggest loser of the weekend. Seems like everybody thinks it's Megan Rapinoe. She'll take the first crown for biggest loser of the weekend.
Yep, 0836. No one will ever be a bigger loser than Rapinoe.
She's a huge loser.
Now you've got me saying her name wrong.
I know. And she has the hashtag not my president haircut. Like it's just written all over her face. Like we don't need to know any of your political takes, Megan Rapinoe. We already know them. We can see you standing there. Orange man bad. We got it. It is 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. Now, listen, I have 4 kids and a wife, and, me and my wife talk all the time about financial plans and what's important to us and, having to pay for college down the road. So when I didn't have a plan, I had to figure something out. And I'm so glad that I got to meet Paul Winkler. Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. And because of that, the government regulators require that I tell you that I'm paid every time this commercial airs. But it's because I got the chance to sit down with Paul and have my financial questions answered honestly that I decided to become a client myself. I'm impressed with Paul. He's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do. And with Paul and his team, nothing is done on commission, and they're big on education, which is very, very helpful for me. He's made my family's financial goals far more realistic by explaining what to do and why. And every office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience. They're not salesmen. They're financial planners. You can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest. Experience equals confidence. So do what I did. Talk to one of his team members. You can set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950.
Severe weather impacting travel plans. Today's not the only deadline a federal judge is imposing on former President Trump. A deadly night on the interstates in Middle Tennessee, and an update on a battle of the billionaires. These stories and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So over the weekend, as I'm sure you would know, the Democrats, they're going on all the TV shows on Mockingbird Media, and they're saying all the right things to defend Joe Biden. But something really caught my ear. Democrat Rep. Jerry Connolly had this to say about Joe Biden and the economy actually being one of his greatest assets.
Well, I do think the economy is going to be a huge asset.
Really?
Biden has been maybe too reticent, too modest to take credit. But, I mean, where we've come since the depths of the pandemic is an astounding recovery story.
It's an astounding story, and Biden has been too modest, too humble. He's as humble as Megan Rapinoe in her soccer her soccer achievements and in the fight for equal pay. That's how Biden is with the economy. He just needs to be more vocal about it. And the Dems got those talking points over the weekend, and they started pounding the pavement and really trying to figure out a new plan to share the Biden's successes. We're going to have audio from the Democrats trying to figure out their new plan to share the Biden successes. And, all right, so also the Democrat bench has just been absolutely obliterated. There's nobody waiting in the wings. Like, after Joe Biden, who's next? Like, Kamala? Meh. Gavin Newsom? Like, they got to make new faces, and the Democrats are trying to do just that. So you have all these new guys coming in. Jake Akinelas from Massachusetts. I'm butchering his name, but he's just a loser. And then Dean Phillips, who's also a loser. And I'm gonna explain to you why these guys are losers, but how they're being positioned by the Democrat Party to be the new faces of the Democrat Party. We're going to talk about that after 10 o'clock. It is the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you want to be a part of the show, you're always welcome to text in the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. Or you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, True Social. I'm at Chris Hand on air. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Again, check with your airlines this morning. As many as 2,500 flights canceled or delayed due to severe weather moving across the eastern part of the nation. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Today at 5 o'clock is not the only deadline the federal judge in the January 6th investigations giving former President Trump and his attorneys. Here's Pierre Thomas.
The judge is already pushing to get a trial date. She's given the special counsel's office until this coming Thursday, August 10th, to come up with a date. And she's calling on Trump's defense team to give their own date within a week.
Judge Chutkan wants a response from Trump by 5 o'clock today on the special counsel's request for limiting what the former president can say publicly about the case. Right now in Tennessee, state troopers say one person died in a crash in Rutherford County last night. News 2 says it happened between a passenger car and a commercial vehicle on 840 and mile marker 50 just after 10 o'clock. It's unclear which vehicle that victim was in. And right now in Pennsylvania, state police investigating after at least 3 people died when a charter bus collided with another vehicle. This on busy I-81 near Harrisburg. As many as 50 passengers on that bus when it flipped over. And the battle of the billionaires is shifting from trash talk toward an actual cage match. All that's left, says Jim Ryan, is a date and a venue.
On their respective social media platforms, Threads and X, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk have been calling each other out for months. Zuckerberg, the boss at Meta, has proposed an August 26th cage match. Musk says he plans to stream the event on X. And both have said any proceeds from the event would go to charity. Now they just need to finalize the date and details.
Well, Musk said last night he may need surgery before facing off against his fellow tech executive, posting to X. Musk says he's getting an MRI of his neck and upper back and should know how that might affect the fight date later this week. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, hour number 2 of the Chris Hand Show. It is 10:04. And the Biden campaign, the Biden regime, Democrats in general, they have all these new talking points, and they always debut them over the weekend. Like they get the memo, and then they all just fall in line. And the new memo is, we're actually doing a lot better than anybody thinks we're doing. We just don't say it enough, you guys. That's the problem. We haven't told the people how good we're doing. Never mind whether or not they've showed you. They haven't told you. And hey, to be fair, half of the voting population of this country seems like they only need to be told what to do anyway. So it may prove to be a good strategy for the Democrats. So this is what they're saying. This is Democrat Rep. Jerry Connolly.
Well, I do think the economy is going to be a huge asset. Biden has been maybe too reticent, too modest.
Way too modest.
To take credit. But, where we've come since the depths of the pandemic is an astounding recovery story.
He's so modest. Maybe he would have had more time to tell us if he wasn't on the beach. Maybe. But, he spends a lot of time on the beach. Maybe if he spent more time telling people how great he's doing, we would believe it. It wasn't just Democratic Rep. Jerry Connolly either. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who I don't know if you're familiar with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She's out of Florida. Just like they all joke that what's her face? Pelosi's the Wicked Witch. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is far more scary. I would not want to run into her in a dark alley. And if you look at her from when she started working, before she started working with the Clintons in 2015 to now, she looks like she's aged 1,000 years. Like she has had the soul sucked out of her. This poor woman. Anybody that works with the Clintons, it looks like they have the soul sucked out of them. But Debbie Wasserman Schultz especially looks like she's had the soul sucked out of her. I see Mac. He's grimacing over there. Are you looking at pictures of her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is scary.
Look at her pre-2015 too.
Wow.
She used to look like, she was never like a looker.
No,
but like
all the color, all the vibrancy has just been sucked away.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you work for the Clintons or for the Democrats in general, because they just make you say things that aren't true. So this is her plan as to what the Democrats need to do to tout Biden's successes more.
And so now this effort by the White House to put the Biden administration's name out on signs, particularly at road projects, to remind people this is part of this administration. This is who to credit. Do you think this is going to make a big difference?
Are you following? So their new plan is to put signs where there's road construction to say Joe Biden did this. Does that sound like a good idea? Does anybody like road construction? Hey, you're stuck in traffic and the right lane is closed and Joe Biden did this. You're welcome. Signed the Democrats with like a heart emoji. It's crazy. Debbie Wasserman Schultz thinks it's an awesome idea.
Oh, I do think, just like with the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act during the Obama years, making sure that we label the infrastructure investments and the Wi-Fi investment and the Superfund cleanup and all of the investments that are being made, the jobs that are being brought back from overseas, the supercomputers that are going to be built as a result of chips being manufactured here. All of that has to be communicated very visibly and also comprehensively. And eventually, you'll start to see that baking in.
Okay, so eventually that will start helping the polls, says Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Even in her voice, it sounds like she has no soul or no joy in her life. She just sounds miserable. But this is their plan. We're going to put up signs near infrastructure projects and say Joe Biden did that. So when the bridge is closed over on Broadway, right, if they're getting any infrastructure money for that, there's going to be a sign that says this is Joe Biden's fault. And that's going to help them in the polls. It's brilliant. It's so brilliant, only a Democrat could think of it. I have actually a couple more ideas. So maybe in front of hospitals, maybe like they could put up a sign that says we cured cancer. Like just in front of all the hospitals to remind them that Joe Biden cured cancer.
You wouldn't want anyone forgetting that. I mean, that's an amazing feat.
It's amazing.
We have a super text from Sandra, 3641. She said Obama did the same with signs at projects.
All right, yeah. I mean, it just sounds like a terrible idea. It doesn't shock me that Obama did something terrible also.
Exactly.
Like, I just don't understand where the thought process is. Yeah, people are going to be sitting in traffic, having to go through these detours. How about we put up a sign that says Joe Biden did this? Maybe I'm missing the point, but that's all I could gather from that is that's what they want to do.
When you go to a fast foods place and that sandwich that you always get's $7 instead of $4, it's Joe Biden's face just right next to the menu item.
Maybe next to cash registers,
yes.
we could have a picture of Joe Biden's face, like pointing to the price, says this means Bidenomics is working. Maybe that would be good. Maybe like maybe we like near the paint section, near the white paint, we could have pictures of Joe Biden saying grab a gallon for your roof.
For your roof.
To fight global warming. We need more Biden signs. All right. That's what the Democrats are doing. You know, and then they'll also pivot. You know, Mockingbird Media has their back. So when gas prices are going through the roof because of Biden's policies, you know, it's also not their fault.
Have you noticed a recent surge in gas prices this summer? Join the club. You're not alone. The national average price of a gallon of regular is now $3.83. That's about 30 cents more than it was just a month ago. One big factor might surprise you. It seems this summer's extreme heat is playing a role.
Oh, it was the extreme heat that caused my gas prices to go up. Okay. Maybe we should put a sign up at the gas station. It says, warning, extreme heat is raising gas prices, not Bidenomics. That'd be awesome. So the Democrats are just flailing. They are a fish out of water right now with all the Hunter Biden stuff happening around them. With everything they throw at Trump only making him stronger, he just absorbs it and gets stronger. They have no idea what to do. It's hilarious to watch, but they've actually been trotting out new Democrats, okay? So, and I think it's because their bench is so depleted that they have to bring new faces to the game. Because Kamala Harris isn't testing well. You know, who else do they have? Gavin Newsom looks like a used car salesman. Any good Democrat has left the party. You know, like Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin is basically 1 foot out the door. Tulsi Gabbard left the party. So all the Democrats that were good, that could garner any kind of grassroots support, has left. So they have no bench, they have no roster, and they're forced to make new stars. So they're trial running new Democrats. Spoiler alert, it's not going very well. This is Jake Auchincloss. He's from Massachusetts, and he is off to a hot start.
Do you get that half the country is skeptical about what's happening at the Justice Department?
I get that Donald Trump is sowing doubt in our legal institutions, which has been his tactic for 50 years. But this isn't some business lawsuit in New York City. This is about Donald Trump trying to overturn the Constitution.
Yeah, it's about Donald Trump trying to overturn the Constitution, says Jake Auchincloss. So you get out there, you have a chance to be a new face, and you just repeat the same thing everybody else is saying. Old Jake. He unseated Joe Kennedy III after Spittlegate. Do you remember that? After the was it one of Trump's State of the Unions? He was the guy that had the retort afterwards, and he had like the little spittle on the side of his cheek.
Oh yes, I do remember that.
So that was the end of his political career
before it even began.
Spittlegate. So Jake got his seat, and he's been in office in Congress, U.S. House of Representatives for Massachusetts since 2021. He was a city council member before then. So he's one of the rising stars of the Democrat Party. And you know, he's so solid, super solid.
This focus, this obsession, I would say, on Hunter Biden is really just a whopper of whataboutism.
A whopper of whataboutism. Thanks, Jake.
Because the Republicans are trying to deflect, to diminish, to defend Donald Trump from the grave crime of conspiracy against the Constitution of the United States. They want the American public to focus on anything other than the man who swore to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution that I upheld as a Marine officer and a member of Congress. that he instead tried to overturn our very democracy. And we don't have to accept that premise.
No, we don't have to accept that premise. Orange man bad. Did I mention that? Shannon? I mean, listen, he says this one thing that kills me, right? He says, he's a Marine. But, like, just a little background on Jake Auchincloss, old Jacob. He was born in Newton, Massachusetts. His mother is the president and CEO of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and his father serves as the director for the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, succeeding Anthony Fauci in that role. The guy has deep state written all over him. Silver spoon in his pocket since birth. He grew up in Newton, Massachusetts. Oh, Newton. Like, and then he tries to patronize us and hang his hat on his military service.
Officer and a member of Congress, that he instead tried to overturn.
He says, I was a Marine. I swore to uphold the Constitution.
They want the American public to focus on anything other than the man who swore to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution that I upheld as a Marine officer and a member of Congress.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake. Thanks for saving us from ourselves. If it wasn't for Jake, what would we do? But again, his mother is the CEO of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. His father is the director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. This is all I can picture when I hear Jake Auchincloss talking.
But I know something about you. You went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. What's the matter, dog? You in Paris? This guy's a gangster?
His real name's Jacob.
And Paris gives a home to both parents.
And Jacob's parents have a real good marriage.
This guy don't want to battle. He's shook because ain't no such thing as halfway crook.
So he's got a silver spoon in his mouth. I mean, this is who this guy is. But he wasn't even the worst of the trial run Democrats that they brought out over the weekend. No. That was Dean Phillips. Dean Phillips from Minnesota. Listen, he got his start in 2019. Okay. Dean Phillips, Minnesota, 2019. You know how he decided to run? Do you know why he decided to run?
No, what was that?
He looked into his daughter's eyes and he knew that he had to make a change.
And I woke up the morning after the 2016 election, the one you just spoke about, saw fear in my daughter's eyes, my two daughters. I recognized at that moment that millions of Americans have had that same fear for generations. And I promised them I would do something. I ran for Congress.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dean Phillips. You know who Dean Phillips sounds like? He sounds like one of the husbands from I Dream of Jeannie. I know, it probably goes over your head, Mac.
I don't know that one. Yeah, now I got to look this up.
He sounds like a Darren. But listen to this guy.
And I woke up the morning after the 2016 election, the one you just spoke about, saw fear in my daughter's eyes.
If you're a parent and your kids are fearful after an election, you're failing as a parent. Like either side, you need to protect your kids from that. Okay, my daughter is never going to wake up and feel fear after an election. Oh gosh, oh no.
My two daughters. I recognize at that moment that millions of Americans have had that same fear for generations, and I promised them I would do something. I ran for Congress.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you. Orange man bad, Dad. That's Dean Phillips from Minnesota. He's got to be one of the rising stars of the Democrat Party. It's crazy. But they have nobody on their bench. So they're stuck with Jake Auchincloss and Dean Phillips. And that's who they're trouting out. I will say, to Dean Phillips's credit, he didn't go full, Democrat line, hook, line, and sinker like everybody else. He did say that he thinks Kamala Harris is competent.
Is she not qualified? I think she's absolutely qualified. In fact, I think she's misportrayed. I think everybody in this country should take a little bit of time and sit with people, observe them, know them before you draw conclusions. I think she is more competent and able than many people give her credit for. The job of the vice president is not an easy one.
Okay, so he kind of holds the line for Kamala, but when he's pushed on it, and he's asked, is Kamala the heir apparent? This is when he kind of starts being, we start seeing the real Dean.
Would she, in your mind, be the heir apparent if for some reason the President of the United States were not to seek the nomination in 2024?
I'm glad you asked the question, and my answer is really simple. Competition. As many people as humanly possible with the talent, the time, the energy, the ethics to enter a primary should do it. We have 12 Republicans as options for Republican primary voters. Right now, we only have 3 in the Democratic side. I believe in competition. We're the Democratic Party. Democracy means the freedom to make choices, and we don't have many of them.
Yeah, democracy. I mean, to his credit, he's asked, is she the heir apparent? And I mean, he gave you a word salad about competition, but his answer was no. No, she's not the heir apparent. And I think we can all agree on that. Every cackle that happens, her poll numbers drop even lower than before. She is the best female vice president we've ever had, and I will stand by that statement, despite what you misogynists may think. But, Dean Phillips says, no, she's not competition. She's light work. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to rough her up on the debate stage, and, the nomination's basically sealed up for Dean Phillips in his mind. At least that's what he's going to tell his daughters, because they woke up just freaking out after the 2016 election as to what may happen.
And I woke up the morning after the 2016 election, the one you just spoke about, saw fear in my daughter's eyes.
I'd be more fearful if Kamala was the heir apparent than if Orange Man got the presidency again. But Dean Phillips, Jake Auchincloss, get used to those names. I feel like they're going to be pushing those guys more and more and more onto your radar. I think that the Democrat Party has no plans for the future. They're gonna put up signs to let you know that the traffic is caused by Joe Biden. That's how they're gonna tout his successes. They have nobody waiting in the wings, and they're trying to make new stars. I still wouldn't put it past them that they could try and run Michelle Obama, but as you can see, they're starting a game plan for life past Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It is 10:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. This is the Chris Hand Show. Thank you for being here.
National Weather Service has just placed a good part of Middle Tennessee under a tornado watch until 6 o'clock. That includes Nashville, Williamson County, Rutherford County, Wilson, Sumner, and Coffee counties. Also, new update in the George Floyd case. The last former Minneapolis police officer charged has drawn a prison sentence. We'll tell you about it at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver, for all of your weather updates. We got you all day long on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I saw the Super Text line. I understand I made a mistake. And I want to apologize to everybody. I told you if I make a mistake, I'm going to own it. I said Darren from I Dream of Jeannie. And I meant that Dean Phillips sound like Darren from Bewitched. In case you missed it, Dean Phillips from Minnesota, they're pushing this guy to be the next... one of the next rising stars in the Democrat Party. Here he is.
And I woke up the morning after the 2016 election, the one you just spoke about, saw fear in my daughter's eyes, my two daughters. I recognized at that moment that millions of Americans have had that same fear for generations.
Doesn't he sound like Darren from Bewitched? Doesn't he? You never seen the show?
It's still over my head. I'm so sorry.
Ken Weaver, have you seen Bewitched?
I've seen almost every Bewitched episode.
There you go.
Doesn't Dean Phillips from Minnesota sound like the original Darren?
And I woke up the morning after the 2016 election, the one you just spoke about, saw fear in my daughter's eyes.
Doesn't that sound like Darren?
I'm not sure. Dick York or the other Darren?
Darren.
Remember, there were two of them.
Darren won.
Darren won. I hear a little bit of Dick York in it, yeah?
All right.
A little bit.
Maybe I'm wrong. I know I was wrong saying that it was I Dream of Jeannie and not Bewitched. And I'll tell you, can I tell you guys why I made that mistake?
Yeah.
On the way home from church yesterday, so we have a very strict approved and unapproved TV list. Bewitched is on the approved list.
Nice.
But we got into an argument yesterday with my 9-year-old. I say argument, loosely. It was quite the disagreement in the car because we wouldn't let her watch I Dream of Jeannie. I thought I Dream of Jeannie just gets a little bit too provocative, Bewitched is approved. I Dream of Jeannie, unapproved. So that's why I had I Dream of Jeannie on my mind.
Because it got the big stamp of disapproval.
It got the woke trash rubber stamp. So it's very misogynistic also. All right. So yeah.
We're getting a bunch of texts now. It says he sounds like Obama. Same cadence.
Really? You think this guy sounds like Obama?
And I woke up the morning after the 2016 election, the one you just spoke about, saw fear in my daughter's eyes, my two daughters. I recognized at that moment that millions of Americans have had that same fear for generations.
I don't know.
That's more Dick York than Obama.
They're only hearing it when he says, my daughter's eyes. That's how Obama would say
But
that.
you got to whistle on the S's.
And he also didn't say if. So I don't know. It doesn't really sound like Obama to me.
Witches don't reside in bottles. They live in your neighborhood. Probably across the street.
That's pretty good.
That's a good one. Ken Weaver just nailing it. John texted in and said, I don't know. I would have to hear him say Sam.
Yeah. And again, he'd have to whistle his S's.
Yeah, he'd have to. All right. Speaking of I Dream of Jeannie, hell no, Obama talks too slow. So he thinks about what he says 90-58. So not an Obama sound-alike. So that's that thing, a sound-alike? It is now. Exclusive.
2531 says, how old are his girls?
They're like 30.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like 30 and 40.
Women.
Yeah.
That's what I want to imagine.
He's like breaking into their apartment. Like, honey, it's okay.
It's going to be fine.
Calm down. All right. It is 10:29 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. On the way, I got audio from Trump's speech over the weekend and more reaction from the Democrat Party and the insanity that they're engaged with. Right now, the news on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and the National Weather Service has put much of Middle Tennessee under a tornado watch until 6 o'clock tonight. That includes Nashville, Williamson, Rutherford, Wilson, Sumner, Coffee counties, included in this tornado watch until 6 o'clock tonight. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now, the George Floyd case, the last former Minneapolis police officer charged has drawn a 5-year prison sentence on state charges. Tu Thao had testified he was holding people back when concerned bystanders gathered as Officer Derek Chauvin knelt on Floyd's neck for nearly 10 minutes while Floyd said he couldn't breathe. And right now in Nashville, neighbors tell Channel 4 they're saddened by the shooting death of a father of 2 at the Creekstone Apartments in Donaldson over the weekend.
I heard the shots. I heard about 3 or 4 shots. Just a very unfortunate situation. It shouldn't have happened, and to happen the way that it did was really sad. And I didn't know the guy, but I hope that his family, has some kind of peace.
Police say before he died, 35-year-old Jose Rivera Garcia called 911 to report he had been shot by 3 men who tried to rob him. Police say they found him dead inside a gray Ford Escape. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. What's one of the biggest mistakes that I find that investors make? Well, it's typically buying based on past performance. We look at our 401k, we try to decide which fund should I buy, and tend to look at historical past performance over 3, 5, and you even hear investment advisors telling people to look at 3, 5, and 10-year track records. Problem is that what do markets do? They go up and they go down. Well, where did this have a great past performance? Here to here. So we end up buying high. We found that there was one study back in 1986, and it was called the Brinson-Huden-Biebauer study. And they were looking at what drove investment returns more than anything else. And the study sort of looked like this. They said, stock selection, about 4% of investment differences were due to stock selection. About 2% was due to market timing differences. Asset mix, asset allocation, that was the big deal. Now, what they found, which was fascinating, was that when the pension plans engaged in these two activities, in one study it showed that 100% of the time, investment returns were lower and it increased risk. Not something you want when you're an investor. So this is something that we teach investors to help them sidestep some of these issues. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.